The move like that?
Because he was telling us to get out of the cities. And what we were supposed to do, what we were instructed to do, was to get land and to build schools and mosques on the land and to have our own farms and grow our own food, because he said there's going to come a time, and people are saying that right now today, there's going to come a time when this thing hit the fan and you ain't even going to be able to go to the stores and buy food and stuff like that, because white folks is going to have this thing so wrapped up until they're going to take possession of everything, whether it's the police, the military, or whatever, and that you're going to be left at their mercy in terms of being able to feed. Look what happens when they have riots and even these hurricanes, all the food stores are empty. You know what I'm saying?
He says it's going to be a time, he says, not to have your children in these schools.
Yeah.
Because
or to just be in the cities.
In the cities.
Because when they're gonna run up just like they did, you had people, you had police, and you had different renegade groups that was running around just because they seen somebody with a kufi or a kimono and stuff like that. The people were being assaulted.
Yeah.
And everybody was the same. Didn't make no difference if you was whatever that you was with. Yeah. They see you and all they say that's the Muslims. You know what I mean? And they're gonna have harm in their heart to do to people. That's why I say, get yourself, you know, we got brothers on land that was heavily armed and did target practice and everything, the physical training and everything. That's what white folks were doing, been doing it for years, out there in Arizona, in the desert and stuff, taking that survival and stuff like that. You know, people think that that's an extreme, but if you open up your eyes and look, that's a real possibility that can happen.
Because you never know when this government can fall out.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. People go, take a look. You got this daggone fool in the White House right now, and everybody's losing confidence and faith in him. He ain't gonna protect you. You know.
This is what Shahsan was talking about. He was saying that if you in a situation where you where if the dollar bill goes down, if it collapses and whatever,
basically the economy,
the economy falls, you got to be in a place. You got to be in a place where you have your own food, your own crops, your own animals to be self-sufficient, and not having. Because if you depend upon this place here, you'll be down right where the rest of them are. You got to learn how to trade. He talk about learning how to trade and stuff of that nature.
Barter,
and barter and whatever and so forth and so on. And that's why I'm sorry, but that's why I'm very adamant.
A lot of the things he say though, says what you be saying. You remind me of some of the stuff he say when you be talking sometimes about economics wise. Like that we should have honorable jobs. This for black people. I'm not talking. He came to help black people. Honorable jobs. We should have like businesses. He said businesses. He said when this collapse, the people that have businesses are the ones that's going to keep the thing running. So he said we should have businesses. This is what he's been saying since what? The 80s?
Since the 80s,
The thing of it is, Shah Sahib actually came for the Indians.
Yeah.
Remember? He came for the Indians.
American Indians?
Yeah, American Indians. But Allah changed his route. Yeah, because
you seen the state of the black people.
Changed his route.
And they tried to hook him up and say that he was part of that terrorist stuff.
Pearl
thing.
The Pearl thing.
They tried to hook him up with that.
Yeah, they tried to hook him up.
They told me that I heard from some people that was in position to know. Excuse me. They said that he actually, some of them people who arrested him and was detaining him, one of them actually took Shahada. They started talking to him and they said, well, he ain't about that. But he's telling them about what he was really about, that he didn't associate with. They let him go. But they said one of the high-ranking FBI people actually took Shahada based on that. He said, well, watch him anyway, because sometimes they be trying to infiltrate you don't know why.
There was a lot. They actually did a study and they found out in New York City alone, there was a lot of FBI agents that infiltrated the mosques and had positions too.
But did you go?
It's COINTELPRO. They were called COINTELPRO agents, and they were integrating into the Islamic community to try to bust them up from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the land's usually be like, y'all want to come in and look?
Nah,
Let me see.
They did that. When we was in South Carolina, we went there and remember South Carolina one year. They had invited them in there.
Yeah.
And they came and they saw what it was, so they telling them this is what we got. They seen, and they had built that new mosque, that shrine and stuff like that, and all that stuff. And they came and said, it's not about what we're being portrayed to be about. This is what we're really about. So they had FBI agents coming. Yeah, they stayed there for more than stuff. Now, they stayed there just to see what the function was in that community, to see if they could associate it with terrorism or something, or just see if are these people really a threat, or what really are they about. So there was, and the press and everything was invited there. Amirs, and some of them. And I say this, I've always said this from day one, because the brother said it to me when I, was early convert. He said, some of us, we get amongst groups, and we brothers and sisters and all of us, and we love each other. He said, but a lot of us, he said, quite a few of us, we weren't born Muslims. We're converts. We come from this country here. And so a lot of us bring some of that baggage with us. So we was hustlers and pimps and prostitutes and thieves and killers. We're all of those things. We were collectively. We were all of those things, And so we have to understand that it's not like we came from over in a Muslim country where from day one, this is all that we ever knew about Islam and its principles. We came from different backgrounds, and some of that stuff we still have in us. And so money was coming from all over the country. This money was supposed to go to Shahshah. When Shahshah came, he spent his own money. He didn't ask for a dime. He wasn't asking for a dime. He was supporting a lot of the people here from his pockets. And it came to a point where it said, now, so everybody gonna have to start paying. And they were supposed to send the money. There was money being sent to purchase land and to help with businesses and stuff like that, to help to develop. And it got out of hand. Some of the people that was in charge, funds became misappropriated because he would leave it when it was come time. He had to go back to Pakistan, and people was doing their own things, and people was riding around in Cadillacs and Lincolns and stuff like that, and spending money building houses on the land, and these are people that never had a job in their life. He said, get on no more welfare.
He actually, I'm sorry, but he actually said, if you continue to do this, you're out of the jammat.
Yeah.
He told him you're out of the jammat if you constantly continue to borrow or to take money from the government like that, you're out of the jammat.
Because you can become dependent on it, and you won't go out, and the whole thing was about sustaining yourself, being able to put yourself in a position to sustain yourself,
to make capital,
and to be an example to the children that you was raising up, so that they would do the same things.
What year was this? This was like the 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you had some people. I seen brothers. I don't mention no names. It was brothers that was given a position who they was actually going out, and there was some sisters that were still collecting welfare and getting food stamps. They would go and take a check and a stamp and give them what they wanted to give them. It was knowledge.
Crazy about this situation is like, it's almost like it's a recurring thing with the money thing. It's like Alright, you build these groups up, black people come together, they start doing something, then money starts getting misappropriated, and then it just
Money
collapses.
always has a way of
Money is a big test.
right there on the
Big tip.
Yeah, but you like,
big
man,
tips.
if y'all would have just stuck with it, it would have just been better for everybody.
Yeah, but people wasn't thinking.
People wasn't doing it.
Yeah, it seems like this is a recurring thing,
We
man.
caught up in a capitalistic society. What is it? Win if you can, lose if you must. But what? What?
Win by any means necessary.
Always cheap.
Win by any
Always
means
cheap. That's
necessary.
capitalism.
Yeah.
So hey, you get caught up in it because that's where we at.
So, alright, so what you said, brother. So some of the things that I mean say y'all familiar with, y'all
We
remember?
was familiar with it
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And because if you had noticed, if you listen to him a lot of times, he always say and mentions that, and I know that because when you first read the excuse me, the books about Imam Ghazali, and you read the introduction, and it tells you that if all of the Islamic literature was lost, and that except for his writings, that very little would be lost.
Yeah, because it should be in.
No, because how complete it is, how complete that those compilations consist purely like the Quran and Sunnah. It's all in there. It's all in his books. You know, all of the books and stuff and literature, all that. That's what I mean when I say about you know, if you have the basics, it's hard for you to be disillusioned about really what the truth is. But, and I can appreciate a lot of time when Imam Amin says, and he says, if you don't know your religion and you don't know it from a sound tradition, unbroken chain, right back to the Prophet Muhammad. One of the things that really impressed me, one time I sat over there one night, I think they had a Mallard, and he spoke one time, and he said, and the first time I heard him saying, I've heard him say it several times since, that if you don't know your religion and you can't trace it back on an unbroken chain to Prophet Muhammad, and people can say anything and you can't refute it. But if you, and I was so impressed when I don't know how many names that he named from his teachers and their teachers and their teachers and their teachers. And as he concluded, he said, and this one learned from the companion, named the companion said, who learned from Rasulullah, and Rasulullah learned from the angels of Jibril. He was sent from Allah. He said, now if you can verify your learnings with an unbreaking chain and trace it back to, you know, Prophet Muhammad, people can say anything. And he was saying, even this Friday pastor was there, and heard him say that, you know, people can say or challenge you and say, this is Islam. And if you don't know, you can say things that you may not agree with. But if you're not up to it, you don't know. You can't say, well, where, like you said, where did you get your knowledge from? When he asked, where did you get your knowledge from? And if they can't give you that unbroken chain back to Prophet Muhammad, they can say anything. And if you don't know, you can't challenge it. Because I sat there 2-3 weeks ago, and he had you know how the people come up to him after Juma and stuff like that, and they sit there, and it was 3 or 4 young brothers from overseas who had came, and he had been talking about, you know, yaqeen and certainty and different higher levels of stuff. And they were talking about they had been somewhere in Florida. I forget what exactly the topic was, but the people were saying one thing. He said we couldn't say anything. They were talking about how they would made salat and how they made a mistake and they was correcting it, and the people told them they was wrong. He said, but they couldn't say anything. They were saying based on this, that's wrong. And he was saying that I think he said from Hanafi's that this was how he was taught to do it. They were saying, but if you don't have this, if you don't know that for certainty, and you can't say, well, according to this, that, and the other, this is how it's done. If you find yourself in the midst of it, a discussion about your deen, and you can't verify or trace it back, whatever it is you're saying, what somebody else is saying. If it can't be traced back, they can say anything. And he's shortly with that, because I've heard it said, somebody can say anything. If
And
you
can't
don't have
defend
it, you can't defend it. Exactly, you can't defend it. And so then, he said, and if that's the case, that you can't defend your religion, that's the reason why we have 6 or 7 different masjids over here, and people are teaching all different things like that, and nobody's challenging these things. He said, nobody's challenging except here in Masjid Muhammad. He said, because I can tell, I can hear something. He said, I can hear it, and I know from an unbroken chain that that's not right. And he said, that's why I invite them to come here. Or I can go there and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
They're not going to do that.
And they're not going. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do it. He said, but in the meanwhile, you have people spreading a lot of crap in the name of Islam, and a lot of people are listening to them. He said, well, now we got to be more. We have to be more assertive in what it is that we believe and why we believe it, and based on an unbroken chain traced back to Prophet Muhammad. And we have to challenge things, because it's not just about us, and it's not our duty, and it's not our right to sit back and in a position where we can't say anything because we don't know. And said, because it's not really just about us, because we all have children. We talking about for generations. We're not going to be here.
That's right.
We have to establish that platform amongst us and pass it to our children so they can pass it to their children. So this crap that's floating around in this so-called South thing that's going around right now is that all this stuff can't be passed without anybody refuting it.
So when that came about? Well, no, I mean the Salafi thing. What year that started?
I really don't know, because
I mean, when it started getting prominent.
Well, I think it was up in North Jersey. It's been up there for
Like in the 90s?
I would say before that. I would say before that. You know, and then they started having some people that was coming down here visiting certain groups and stuff, and then next thing you know, they had people that was from up there that was here leading those groups, and you know, and then and what actually happened was just what he said. If you not learn about your religion, you can't even refute that. So now my heart hurts because I have 2-3 sons that attend that place down there. You know what I mean? Because that's not what they learned. That's not what I learned. That's not what I taught them for years. And sometimes right now I have, and I know I haven't been aggressive with my son. I care because I have another approach for him. I got a real soft spot for him. I know his intentions is good, but I've said things to him at certain times, and I know that over these past few years that I can feel a softening coming. So I believe that it's based on the approach, because sometimes when a person thinks that they're really right and they really think that that's the right thing, and you challenge it hard, you make an enemy out of people.
Let me ask a question. Was that Juma with you that when you introduced me that was your Ibn?
Yeah.
A funny feeling I got in Juma, the way he was sitting and he was listening. He was like,
it was.
He was getting beat up. Yeah. He was sitting there and all what Imam Amin was saying, he was getting beat up. And I'm saying, that brother's feeling what Imam was saying.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah. And you was right.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling at the same time. Because when he came that particular week, when he told me when to come over, he didn't say anything about why he wanted to come in, because he's come there. He knows you. He knows some of the brother Ibn Ali and stuff like that, and he knows he follows a lot of stuff that's online and stuff like that. And he's questioning that stuff because he'll come and he'll say things to me, and he'll say something about meetings they have and how people said this, that, or the other. And I listen to him. I always listen to him. He knows right off the bat that I have a different opinion anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I listen to it in respect. I hear what he's saying. And what I know, not only do I hear what he's saying, I feel what he's going through. He's not certain of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's not certain of that stuff.
Okay.
He told me one time we went to, I think it was during the time of, it was on Rashid Janazah. And he went there. And I had drove, and he had popped in one of those tapes they had, and they were talking about God being in the place and stuff. I could eject that junk right out of there, you know, and see this stuff like, he said, well, I said, nah. I said, it ain't about that, not in here. And so he knows that, you know, I don't approve of certain things, but sometimes we engage in conversation and I listen to him and then I give my opinion about it and why. And I really think that he's
coming around.
I really think